Welcome to this explainer. Okay, tell me if this sounds totally familiar. You spend hours reading articles in English, you watch movies without the subtitles, and you understand almost everything perfectly. But the exact moment you actually have to open your mouth and speak, the words are in your head, but they just don't come out fast enough. You hesitate, you stumble, and honestly, you feel completely disconnected from the fluent English you know you actually understand. It's an incredibly common frustration, but don't worry, because today we're going to break down a really clever method that fixes it.
So let's dive right into this. Why does this happen? That painful speaking freeze happens to almost every single language learner. You see, if you study English mostly by watching and reading, your brain becomes a total master at receiving information. But your mouth? It hasn't been trained to produce it at that same speed. All your vocabulary is basically trapped in this passive state. You probably find yourself reaching for the exact same simple phrases over and over, even though your actual vocabulary is way bigger. You freeze up because fluency isn't just about what you know in your head. It's about physical, real-time coordination.
Now, I want you to consider this number, 210. What if I told you there's no need to memorize thousands of complex academic words to break through this freeze? You literally only need 210 simple foundational words. We're talking about words you probably learned in your very first year of studying English. With just this tiny little toolkit, two people can have a completely nuanced conversation. They can disagree, weigh options, make decisions, even tease each other. Fluency really isn't about how many words you know. It's about how rapidly and naturally you can deploy the ones you already have.
So here is our agenda for today's explainer. First up, the speaking freeze. Second, the shadow solution. Third, unlocking vocabulary. Fourth, we'll dive into the apartment dilemma. And finally, practice at real speed. Let's get to it. Section 1. The speaking freeze and the shadow solution.
All right, the absolute secret sauce here is this concept, shadowing. Now, shadowing is not just repeating a sentence after a teacher says it. No way. It is the active practice of listening to a dialogue and speaking alongside the characters at their exact, real conversational speed. It literally forces your mouth to move at the pace of native speech. By taking a very small, manageable list of words, like our 210-word limit, and shadowing it relentlessly, you completely bypass the part of your brain that overthinks grammar. Instead, you're building pure, conversational muscle memory.
Section 2. Unlocking everyday vocabulary.
You know, there are some common pronunciation traps that trip up even advanced learners, and they completely disrupt that shadowing rhythm. First up, the silent H. Think of words like hour or honestly. You don't pronounce the H at all. It's an hour and a half, or honestly, I felt it. Then we have the soft G in a word like budget. It's two syllables with a soft sound. Finally, syllable stress is absolutely vital. Take the word commute. The stress is right on the second syllable. Commute, or tenant, someone renting an apartment. The stress is on the first syllable, tenant. Mastering these tiny micro details keeps you from stumbling when you're going at full speed.
Now, the word fair perfectly illustrates another major hurdle, double meanings. If you look it up, on paper, it's defined as equal or just, but in real, everyday conversation, native speakers use it completely differently. When someone makes a really good argument and you just want to concede, you say, that's fair. It just means, okay, you have a point. If you only know the strict textbook definition, you might understand the word on a test, but you'll entirely miss the natural flow of an actual conversation.
Let's look at a few more everyday words pulling double duty. Putting pretty before an adjective doesn't mean beautiful. Pretty tired or pretty quiet just means quite or fairly. Then there are phrasal verbs, right? To talk someone into something, that means to convince them. To ask a landlord to come down means to lower the price. And a green flag is basically the modern conversational opposite of a red flag. It's a really good, healthy sign. Grasping these conversational meanings is so crucial that resources like Lingua Marina's Turbo English handbooks are specifically built to help you overcome these exact blocks. They offer sets for speaking and grammar, so English stops feeling like this rigid school subject and becomes something you actually use in real life.
Moving on to Section 3. The apartment dilemma.
Okay, let's look at a real-world scenario. Maya has found an apartment she wants to rent, and she's calling her friend Jess to talk it through. Just listen to how much complexity they capture using really basic vocabulary. For the green flags, the apartment has big windows, a balcony, a park nearby, and a super nice landlord named Mark who's owned it for 20 years and fixes things fast. She even saw two girls smiling outside a local cafe, which is a major green flag. But for the red flags, it's on the 4th floor with 0 elevators, the commute is 40 to 50 minutes with traffic, and, crucially, it's $100 over her budget. It's your classic pros and cons list, entirely constructed with simple B1 level English.
So, how do they solve this budget problem? Maya really doesn't know how to ask the landlord for a lower price, but Jess steps in with some brilliant, pragmatic advice. She says, 100 sounds like you're trying to win a deal. 50 sounds like you're being honest. It is such a natural way to negotiate. By using simple words like deal and honest, Jess helps Maya frame her request. It's not some hostile business negotiation, it's just a reasonable human compromise.
And this leads to some highly practical problem solving. Maya's final strategy is beautifully simple. She's going to send a short email, mention she loves the place, ask if the landlord can come down just $50, and here's the absolute clincher, promise to move in next week. Why? Because landlords love a fast tenant. With just a few basic sentences, Maya has crafted a highly effective, super persuasive pitch. But what about that terrible 50-minute commute? Jess points out that Maya hates mornings. Maya's response absolutely proves that personality and humor don't require advanced vocabulary. She jokes, "I'm going to learn. I'll listen to podcasts. I'll be the most informed person at my office, or the most tired. Probably both." It's witty, it's relatable, and it completely diffuses the tension of the conversation, all while staying strictly within our 210-word limit.
Finally, Section 4. Practice at real speed. Let's talk about how to actually do this. All right, here's your game plan for daily practice. 3 non-negotiable steps. Step 1, listen to the dialogue first without speaking. Just absorb the rhythm, the pauses, and the emotion. Step 2, speak alongside the characters. Do not wait for them to finish a sentence and then repeat it. You must speak at the exact same time they do. And Step 3, literally the most important rule. Do not stop if you miss a line. If you stumble on a word, if you fall half a second behind, just keep your mouth moving and catch up on the next word. The goal isn't perfect pronunciation on the first try. The goal is maintaining the relentless pace of a real conversation.
By repeatedly shadowing small 210-word dialogues like Maya and Jess's, you actively bridge the gap between understanding English and speaking it effortlessly. So, to wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with a little challenge to practice your new conversational skills. Think about the facts we laid out: the 4th floor walk-up, the green flags, that brutal 50-minute commute, and the $50 rent reduction. Would you take the apartment, or would you side with Jess and keep looking? Honestly, spending that much time driving back and forth might be a complete deal breaker for some. But how would you explain your choice using only everyday words? Think about it. Actually, maybe even try speaking your answer out loud right now at real speed. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep practicing.